Welcome back to A Guy Learning How to Draw, episode 10. This is following up on our last episode where I was penciling this piece. Now this one, obviously, here I am. I'm inking it. I actually inked this a little while ago now, so I've actually had a chance to send around the ink to a few friends and colleagues and got a few notes back, and actually since then I've completed a couple other pieces. I'm actually looking forward to moving on to a couple of different pieces, a little bit more challenging. As I go, I'm kind of trying to do something different and more challenging, and then learning from the previous one and then carrying those over to the next. So right here, I'm really starting to focus a lot more on the light source. Obviously, this character is standing outside, so the major light source will be the sky, and it'll be obviously from above, and this is the light source coming from a little bit more frame right. So with every single line that I lay down, I'm trying to think about that. I'm trying to think of the top lines being thinner and the bottom lines being thicker. Obviously, this is all repetition, but that's the whole point, is repetition, and getting not only just the anatomy and the staging and the design and everything right, but also then each individual line needs to mean something. So every top and bottom of every part of the figure or the background piece or whatever needs to mean something. So this was captured over several sittings. As you see, I've already changed there, because I really find that if I sit and do it all at once, I'll start rushing, and then I won't be as the lines won't be as consistent. They won't be as good. I'll just start getting sloppy. I'm also here trying to develop what I'm doing with hair. I know he doesn't have a lot of hair, but trying to maybe simplify it, less liney, and just go with more shapes to work out design of hair and movement of hair, and then eventually I'll probably work more into the lines again. And also in this piece, I was really trying to work out where the solid spotted blacks will be. This is probably my biggest frustration right now, is that where I am technically, I haven't really I'm not really quite happy with my abilities in terms of spotting the blacks yet. As you can see, I'm filling too much in, I think, when I look at this in retrospect, around underneath the lower knelt figure. So it looks just more like a mud puddle rather than focused shadows. I mean, the shadows under his arms and stuff, that all makes sense. That is simple. But like the shadows under a larger mass where he is kneeling in his own kind of shadow, so how much to fill in and how much not to, and how much just to cross hatches is all stuff I'm still trying to figure out. Another thing that I think I learned from this piece again was the importance of using the blacks in the background to guide the eye from a from a design point of view. So right here I'm filling in this giant black space, which I think works to frame and draw the attention to this part of the frame really well. But that area where the black pillar, or the black space between the pillars, goes down to the knelt man is maybe not the best point of focus. Really the point of focus is the female character. So really that pillar should have been moved over so that it was behind her in a creative way, and maybe divided the space maybe down behind her so that it better framed. One of the people that I consider one of my mentors, I suppose, suggested that he always says, remember to put the darkest blacks behind the brightest brights within the frame at your point of focus. So here, like I'm starting to work the shadows up the wall, which I think helps again the 3D space, and it helps the image pop a little bit more. Another thing I was doing a little bit previous to that was those squiggly lines. I was working out some sort of marble look, which works okay. But again, it all comes back to this problem that I'm having where I need to really focus on the background details, because another artist that I was interviewing once named Pop Man, he said something interesting. It's very simple, but like he said, is that, you know, in any comic book or illustration, you have to believe that the characters are in the environment that they're in. So the more detail you put in the environment, the more immersive the experience becomes when the reader or the viewer is experiencing the piece. So this piece was definitely trying to push my attention to the background detail, which is something that I myself have a problem with, because I tend to be more impatient. I only want to draw and do the cool part, which is the figure. I mean, other people maybe have more patience, or they're a little bit more anal when it comes to those details. I myself struggle with that. So this was a good piece to experiment with that. And I think it's going to be something that I do on my next piece, is, again, really focus on rendering the background really well and tying in the design and everything like that. This one is maybe a little bit static. It does have some motion to it, but I think it does feel a little static after the work that went into it, or after I finished inking it. I suppose I do feel it is a little static, even though the proportions are getting there, and some of these characters over here aren't as detailed as maybe they could be. But again, I was probably rushing by this point. I also didn't know what to do with the deep background, so I was experimenting with these pyramids. Here again, I'm trying to figure out how far or how much to hatch, what parts to do solid black, because obviously the marble steps would bounce back light up underneath that cloth, no matter how how solid it was. So it's starting to work, but I feel it's a little sloppy. So you can see those pyramids that I'm starting to ink there. This was one of those scenarios where I didn't really know what I wanted to do with them until after I had really inked everything, and I just kind of scratched in these tentacles with pencil, but I didn't really focus on detailing those very well. So I kind of regret not spending more time on that. Here I definitely felt the anxiety here, because I was putting in a shadow for her, because she needed a shadow, and I didn't even think of that, because she's taller, and obviously he has a shadow up on the wall, but she didn't. So I roughed it in with a pen, and then used my brush pen to fill in the black. Anyway, that's a little quick episode on inking that piece. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again next time. Thanks.